You've mentioned South America, Latin America multiple times, Venezuela. You must have some strong feelings on what's going on in El Salvador with Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador. Is that someone you follow or you're in touch with or anything like that?
The situation in El Salvador is instructive because El Salvador doesn't have their own currency. They had a war, a civil war, and following the civil war, their currency collapsed, and so they dollarized. So the medium of exchange in El Salvador has been the dollar, and so their problem is and was that the banking system, the U.S. banking, or the traditional 20th century banking system is too expensive and cumbersome to serve the people of El Salvador. Over 100 years, they managed to put 2.5 million people into a banking relationship. Over 3 weeks, they rolled out a crypto wallet, a Chivo wallet, and they put 3 million people into that system. So they accomplished more in 3 weeks with digital assets than they accomplished in 300 years with physical assets, right? I mean, it's kind of ironic. We're sitting in a bank vault right now, a converted bank vault, and you're sitting in a converted bank building, but there's probably no better point to make, which is think about how incredibly inefficient and ineffective it is to store money in vaults across 100,000 buildings with tens of millions of people trying to shuffle pieces of paper around, defended by people with guns and militaries and navies and air forces and governments and policemen and court systems and armies of accountants and lawyers.
We might have froze.
David, do we know what's going on?
Working on it.
Looks like it's back. See if it's back for you.
What are the people saying in the comments?
I'm just trying to get one. I see
Looks like
him.
we're back up.
Okay, go for it. You were saying.
So the 20th century way of banking and finance is obscenely expensive and ineffective, and at the end of the day, it leaves 2-3 billion people in the world unbanked, and it's hopeless. It is hopeless. It is the same problem we had during the first wave of internet computing, where we used wired lines, cable lines, in order to deliver the signal. And that was hopeless for Africa. And so the mobile wave was, we put the signal on a tower, and now I can put up one tower and give internet access to millions and millions of people for 1/1000th of the cost of doing it with the copper line technique. So if you think about digital banking, the future of the world is 8 billion people with mobile phones. I download an application in 60 seconds. And on that mobile phone, I carry a digital currency like the dollar, maybe the euro, maybe maybe the yen or the yuan, maybe if there's an effective nation state. If there's not an effective nation state, I just clearly swap out to the dollar immediately. Everybody would want to do that. And then I also carry a digital property, Bitcoin. I want to hold it for 100 years. It's instead of holding a building, which you can tax or seize or rain on, or instead of like holding a bar of gold, which you can take from me, I'm just going to hold my digital bar of gold on my phone. Mm-hmm. And then maybe I have some other assets. Maybe I have digital art. Maybe I have digital securities. Maybe copies of ownership of something else that I might like sitting in a wallet. But certainly, this I can give to everybody on Earth, and I can move the money at the speed of light. And what do I trust? I'm trusting a piece of software, which is a lot cheaper and a lot more reliable than trusting a building, a bank, a board of directors. When you actually have your money in this bank vault, I mean, look at it. Imagine money in the... Think about that. When you had your money there, you were trusting the guy that ran the bank, the manager of the bank, the mayor, the head of the police force of the bank, the head of security of the bank, the dude that came to actually fix the lock, everyone that touched the thing, the governor of the state. Then you were trusting the head of the country, the central bank that managed the country, the military system.
Who do you trust with Bitcoin?
Nobody. That's the point. Nobody. Bitcoin's a bank in cyberspace run by software, incorruptible software. And this is the beauty, right? Really great engineering, it takes a corruptible element and puts corruptible or imperfect elements together in a system such that they cancel out their imperfections to create perfection. Where did this happen? Happens in a thermostat. In a thermostat, I have a strata or a metal, and the metal contracts when it gets cold and expands when it gets hot. Okay, now I tell you, build something which doesn't contract and expand when it gets cold and it gets hot. You're an engineer. How do you do it? You take the piece of metal that's going to contract and you put it in opposition to another piece of metal that contracts the other way. But if they're both the same and they both contract with the same force, and you pin them, they cancel each other out, and then you actually get a zero tolerance perfect machine. That's how John Harrison created a perfected clock. He basically used that insight that imperfect elements can create a perfect mechanism in a clock. That clock was used to calculate longitude on the ocean. That's how we actually navigated for 300 years. It's all based upon a bunch of imperfect elements that create a perfect mechanism. Bitcoin is the same thing. I've got a piece of software, it runs on a machine. Is it perfect? No. Why? Because you can corrupt it. How do I fix it? I give another piece of software to him. Now the two of each of your machines check each other. Well, what if you're both corrupted? Well, I throw another 10,000 of those pieces of software into the ether. Well, who do I give them to? People I don't know. How do I corrupt them? How do I even find them? Okay? What if I promise to murder everybody in the US that doesn't change their Bitcoin nodes? Doesn't help.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.